And should we even be blaming in the first place? We always have the tendency, it's your fault, or you've caused me distress, or look what you've done, But actually, uh, there's only one person to blame if we must blame. But even better, the surrendered soul does not blame the Lord, because they're always trusting that, what is this? Goptritve varanam tata. That the Lord is the maintainer, and He's doing everything perfect. And that, the surrendered soul is, the Lord is completely, they're fully convinced that everything the Lord does is perfect, and He's maintaining perfectly. So they don't blame. They don't blame, you've caused me distress, you've done this, you've done that. It's actually the Lord's arrangement every step of the way. And it's actually what's best for us, even if it appearing very uncomfortable. It's oftentimes is uncomfortable. So anyhow, we're going to just, before I do my Mangalacharna, I just want to give a little recap, because the people on YouTube, all 4 or 5 of them, whoever they are, who may be following, I messed up and I didn't put it on YouTube the last class, and it was actually one of our better discussions we had. But anyway, just read the English. The personality of religion said, "These words are spoken by you, befit a person of the Pandava dynasty." Remember Maharaj Pariksh, he was witnessing the Kali demon beating the demigod of religion, Dharmaraj, in the form of a bull, and the demigoddess of Mother Earth, Bhumi, in the form of a cow. So he witnessed this sight. Us, we were all right, this sounds like legend, this sounds like fairy tale, and yeah, it does kind of sound like a legend and fairy tale. But there's allegorical meaning at the very least that you can get from this understanding. And then also, if you're wise, you don't necessarily become very opinionated of so many things, because we don't really know anything. We only have our own direct experience, which is scientifically practically nothing of this of all knowledge. So anyway, we'll take this with whatever lens we're able to take it. But now the bull, he answers him. He says, "The personality of religion said, these words spoken by you befit a person of the Pandava dynasty, captivated by the devotional qualities of Pandavas. Even Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, performed duties as a messenger." This was 2 classes ago, but highlighting how by the devotional qualities of the devotees, Lord Krishna is, actually conquered. We chant, Iti drik swalila bir ananda kunde, swago shamni majantam, akya payantam. So by his pastimes, he's completely immersing, with his own pastimes, he's completely immersing the residents of Vrindavan, or his devotees, in pools of bliss. But also at the same time, Akya Payantam, he's informing Tadiyeshita Gyeshu, those who know of his godhood nature, like we're trying to be that's the beginning level, we have to know the Sambandha Jnana, that Bhaktarji Tattvam, that actually he's conquered by bhakti. So this is evidence throughout the Bhagavatam over and over again. What's conquering the Lord is your love, your devotion, actually. You can't conquer the Lord with might and power in any other way. His way, But with love, you can actually conquer the heart of the Lord. And so the devotee actually conquers the Lord with their love. But you can't artificially do it. All right, I'm gonna love you and have some ulterior motive in the back. All right, I'll just love the Lord, and then He'll be conquered by me, and then I'll enjoy everything that I want to enjoy. Because love is the opposite of trying to exploit and enjoy. You cannot do both. It's like trying to go east and west at the same time. Love is purely out of service, and then exploitation is is the other way. So you can't go east, which you say the path of love, if you're exploiting. That it doesn't work that way. This is why most relationships fail or struggle or this and that, because there is really no love in the arrangement. It's a business transaction. Okay, you scratch my back, or I scratch your back. Or actually, more probably, this is disgusting, but more accurately, you scratch my genitals, I'll scratch your genitals type of thing. This is oftentimes, at least in the West, this has become, such a, prominent part of relationship life. And sex life should be there, especially for children. It could be there for children, but if one's relationship is based around this, yeah, it's business. It's a business transaction. You scratch mine, I'll scratch yours, and we'll just keep scratching our itches and then exploiting each other. But love is something completely different. Love is pure service, and not service, not service with the like we do at work. All right, I'll serve you, dear boss, and you serve me by giving paycheck and things like that. Real service is unmotivated and uninterrupted. This is really what bhakti is. So anyhow, if we have any spirit of enjoyment, which unfortunately we do, this disqualifies us from bhakti. It's disqualifying us. Because just like you're disqualified from going east if you're going west. So if you're trying to exploit in a situation, you're disqualified from really going east. Do you understand? So anyway, but by the devotional qualities of the Pandavas, who had no exploitation, enjoying mood at all towards the Lord, but simply wanted to give the Lord pleasure. The Lord also, he reciprocated by also wanting to give his devotees pleasure and acted as their messenger and performed so many services for them out of reciprocation for their pure love. So, that's one thing. And then the next verse is, "O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant." Remember Parikshit, he asked him, "Who's caused you this suffering so I can punish him?" That's his job as the king. But now Dharma is going to give some really nice philosophy. We talked about this philosophy last class. "O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings, because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers." So it's not so easy to just blame somebody. Oh, Madhav, kept me up late the other night. It's his fault, this, that, and the other thing. Yes, he may have been an instrument to keep me up late the other night, but actually the Lord has arranged everything to keep me up late. So it's very difficult to blame others in this world. Like, you may have some unfortunate circumstance, you lose a lot of money. You may have some unfortunate circumstance where, something happens, someone hits your car, and you could blame, oh, this idiot, look what they did. That's one surface level of realization, but the more advanced philosophical, thoughtful person is saying, why, of all of the places that this idiot could have drove his car, why was it into my car? Why would such a thing happen? Why would the universe conspire to arrange that? Unless, there is a higher system of why things happen. So now that's what Dharma is going to get into. So he says, some of the philosophers who deny all sorts of duality declare that one's own self is responsible for his personal happiness and distress. So those who are, they're immersed in the philosophy of oneness, that they are the total one and everything is part of themselves. They're saying, their own self is responsible for personal happiness and distress. There's some elements of truth to it, but not the complete picture. Others say that superhuman powers are responsible, while yet others say that that activity is responsible. So superhuman, powers. They're saying daivam here. So like from the demigods, the orchestrators of this material world, they're causing all these things to happen. While others say that activity, karma, is causing the things to happen. The laws of karma, the laws of nature. And the gross materialists maintain that that nature is the ultimate cause. That just by the environment, it's just the circumstances of the environment. But there's more. And then, actually, we did text 20, right? Yes, we did. I remember it starting with the Vaishnavites. So we actually do start on 21. There are also some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor know it by imagination, nor express it by words. O sage amongst kings, judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence. And in this purport, everything, it's all coming back to it's the Supreme Lord guiding all this. And that you're not going to be able to ascertain or understand why everything is happening other than this is part of the Lord's plan. This is a limb of surrender. There's two. Rakshasya titi vishwaso and goptritve varanam tata. Understanding the Lord is actually protecting you at all circumstances. Everyone, all living entities are actually being protected by the Lord. The protection may look uncomfortable. Why does the Lord have to treat me so seemingly cruelly? But actually it's good for you. These lessons that you're going to learn under these trying circumstances are actually good for you. He's protecting you from so many other unfortunate circumstances that could come. So anyhow, and then ultimately, that the Lord is your maintainer, and you're convicted that no matter what, He is doing what's best for you. He's protecting you, but He's always doing what's best for you out of love, and you're always trusting Him. So these are understanding. So this philosophy is being teased out a little bit by Dharma. But he's saying, but judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence. So who really should we blame? Well, one, we shouldn't blame. We should not blame. We should accept gracefully. But if we had to cast blame, it's going to go back to God. God is arranging everything. But more advanced, instead of casting blame, which is the connotation is that this is unfair treatment, the more elevated and advanced understanding is this is perfect. I trust you. I know you're doing what's best. This is faith, and this is a limb of surrender, and bhakti cannot begin until this actually, this is our mood, this is our heart. So this has to be there. So now, let's see what Sutta Goswami says. Before we actually begin with the text, let's glorify our Guru Varg with these prayers, mantras, appreciating how our spiritual teachers, the gifts, the ways that the merciful Lord has come to us in this world to dispel our ignorance through their torch of knowledge. On day 2 of Diwali now, it's still the Diwali constellation, the Amavasya in this Kartik Mass. This mood of offering the lamp, and we talk in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna calls multiple times the lamp of knowledge, Jnana Deepena Bhashvata. Is it Bhashvata or Bhashvata?
Bhashvata.
Bhashvata?
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm trying to remember that verse. But so this is, this glowing lamp of knowledge. This is actually given by Krishna when He is ready to bless us. When we come to Him to a certain degree, He starts revealing knowledge to us. But no other way. All other types of knowledge and so-called discovery in this world are ultimately delusions. You might understand things at the platform of matter, but your body's ability to study the phenomena of matter, if you take that as the all-in-all of reality, like most of the material scientists do, and don't understand that that's only, practically 0% of the measuring capacity out there, and that there's much more subtle reality beyond just the fundamentals of matter. And if you take matter as all in all, you become like a material scientist who's only able to see on such a mundane platform. And you're actually not getting a full picture of reality. But if you want to understand the more subtler sciences and understandings, that's actually revealed. Just like the material scientists, they can teach us about matter. But the subtle scientists will be able to teach us about more subtle nature. So we're going to appreciate those subtle scientists or those professors. We call them our Guru Var. So, and we'll chant mantras glorifying them and then glorifying where that knowledge, how they got it, all the way up from the Supreme Lord.
Jnana Timaradasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sankirtatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Haritana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Bhagan Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakan Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namostute Tapta Kantana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishamani Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpa Turgishta Kripa Sindhu Ninja Patitanam Papayo Lakshmebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Shishaya Krishna Krishna Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasitari Satarine.
I'm actually missing Abhirama, my companion for the class. And the companion for the kirtan, but he had a really rough night last night. Did you hear him screaming at 1 in the morning? Oh, it was so brutal last night. Madhav was completely lights out. I'm surprised you didn't hear Madhav because your room's near ours. That's why we have to stay in the basement. But yeah, it was brutal last night. He must have got some gas or from the spicy food or something. Yeah, I don't think he's used to such things. So at least you know for next time you shouldn't eat. If it's something spicy, you should just stay away because that was hell.
I never had anything, but
yeah,
like I never had that happen before. But maybe I shouldn't have anything that spicy.
No, you have to stay away from that. That's crazy. But anyway, I'm missing Abhiram. Yeah, but the Lord has arranged. I'm not going to blame the spice. I'm not going to blame anything. But I'm missing Abhiram as part of my class this morning.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yes. Yeah. No. I like it. It's like it makes me feel.
I'm saying not blaming your wife, but.
Yeah. We'll see.
Because you're in front of the camera now.
Yes.
Then I'll go downstairs.
And then I'll blame you or something. So anyhow, Sutra Vacha Evang Dharme Pravadati Sasamrag Dvija Satamaha Samahitena Manasa Vikeda Parya Chashtatam. Sutra Vacha. Sutra Goswami said, Evam, so, Dharme, the personality of religion, Pravadati, thus having spoken, Saha, he, Samrat, the emperor, Dvija Satamaha, O best among the Brahmins, Samahitena, with proper attention, Manasa, by the mind, Vikeda, without any mistake, Parya Chashta, counter-replied, Tam, unto him. O Suta Goswami said, O best among the Brahmins, the Emperor Parikshit, thus hearing the personality of religion speak, was fully satisfied, and without mistake or regret, he gave his reply. The statement of the bull, the personality of religion, was full of philosophy and knowledge, and the king was satisfied, since he could understand that the suffering bull was not an ordinary one. Unless one is perfectly conversant with the law of the Supreme Lord, one cannot speak such things touching philosophical truths. The emperor, being also on an equal level of sagacity or wisdom, replied to the point without doubts or mistakes. So actually, if someone speaks nice philosophy, it's very pleasing. It's very like, wow. Like if something happened to Parth and I said, Parth, who did this? And he starts speaking me high philosophy. Actually, it's hard to say who did it, but ultimately we think it's the Supreme Lord. I'll be like, wow, look at his wisdom, for knowing like this. So the Emperor Parikshit was actually very satisfied to hear how Dharma replied to his question, because he was asking on the surface level, but Dharma took it way deeper. And Maharaj Parikshit, he's conversant with this deeper philosophy of why everything's arranged, so he was completely satisfied to hear such things. Like similarly, if you hear anybody, reply in such a way, like devotees do this all the time, they're going through some tribulation, some trouble, but they accept, the Lord is doing. Actually, I think I overheard Mukunda, talking to my wife about Guru Maharaj's, troubles in the hospital. He's going through so much troubles in the hospital and things like this. But, Guru Maharaj was, only overheard, I don't know, I can't speak, I didn't get the full context, nor did I hear it myself, but I heard that he was blaming himself, his own, oh, these are just reactions for the many sinful things that I've done in the past and things like that. But that's such a level of humility, and he's not saying, why is Krishna doing this to me, why this is a result of all of the things I've done in the past, and Krishna is so kindly giving me this package to go through and to rectify whatever these things. But this is the humility of a devotee. And then when I heard that, I was actually very much appreciating. I was very appreciative. Is that a new set of rings?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say, those rings look different than the other rings I saw. Very nice. So anyhow, so Dharma was answering, the reasons for his suffering were more complex than just blaming someone or blaming this, that, and the other. So it's very nice. So we'll hear more of what the king says. Rajavacha Dharmang Bravishi Dharmagya Dharmosi Visharupadrik Yada Dharma Kritasthanang Suchakasyapi Tadbhavet Rajavacha. The king said, Dharmam, religion, Bravishi, as you speak, Dharmagya, one who knows the codes of religion. Oh, one who knows the codes of religion. Dharma, the personality of religion. Asi, you are, Vrisharupadrik, in the disguise of a bull. Yat, whatever, a Dharmakrita, one who acts irreligiously. Sthanam, place. Suchakasya, of the identifier. Api, also. Tat, that, bhavet, becomes. The king said, O you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion, and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. This is going to be very nice. You are no other than the personality of religion. Yes, very good. A devotee's conclusion is that no one is directly responsible for being a benefactor or a mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. Therefore, he does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such action. But in both the cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent, and thus it is his grace. In case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. So when things are going good, money's increasing, this is increasing, sensory pleasure is increasing. Oh, Krishna is so kind. Krishna is so merciful unto me. We're like this. But in the case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotee as to put him in great difficulty. This is the more difficult thing. Jesus Christ, this is very nice, was seemingly put into such great difficulty. Beating, whipping, nails through the hands, and so many things. Horrible, horrible, horrible things. Being crucified by the ignorant. But he was never angry at the mischief mongers. He said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So he's seeing, he has that higher vision, that they, he could blame them. Oh, these idiots, what are they doing? But he doesn't. He's, please forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They're like, like you wouldn't blame an animal if an animal did something really stupid, or a wild animal. This is an animal. It says no decent consciousness. Or you wouldn't even blame, a child. If a child is doing something very stupid, you say, oh my God, it's a child. They don't know any better. You wouldn't blame like a mentally disabled person, for doing something socially unacceptable. We don't blame them. We put them on a spectrum. Oh, this is autism. They're socially incapable of, acting how the rest of us are going to act. But we don't blame them. Why? Because we understand, their limitation. So similarly, to the one who's, like so many people want to criticize the president, or so many people themselves, even, but we shouldn't even blame all these people for doing all these silly things in this world, because they don't know any better. They're like, on a cosmic level, well, mentally disabled. Not really, they're just kind of deluded by this world of ignorance, and they can't see beyond just the basic body and its senses. So, Jesus, he saw that, and he, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. They're, and practically just saying, forgive them. They're kind of, they're like children, or they're like, dopes. They're not so sophisticated. They can't understand what they're doing. That is the way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner, like the mischief mongers. He's saying the blamer is also the equal sinner. Isn't that crazy? Someone could, perform something to you, and you turn and you blame, then you've committed equal sin with them. So, I actually experienced the other day, one of the ashram mates was staying up a little too late, and so I went and chastised the ashram mate, because I blamed the ashram mate for doing these activities too late. I ended up staying up later than everybody, and now I'm like the most off balance, and that was my sin. I should have been more more understanding of the Lord's arrangement here, and maybe meeting with a little bit more compassion, because people doing things, they're doing it out of ignorance. They're not doing it out of maliciousness, oftentimes. And even if they're malicious, they're still doing that out of ignorance. So we should still be compassionate. So that's the way of accepting a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. Thus, for a devotee, the identifier is equally a sinner, like the mischief monger. By God's grace, the devotee tolerates all reverses. Tough. Maharaj Parikshit observed this, and therefore he could understand that the bull was no other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, the devotee has no suffering at all, because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali, although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities. The extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the codes of religion. So, if something is going unfavorably, we're understanding this is the Lord's lot. we can try and change it. Like this happened even with the ISKCON movement. There was kind of like a fundamental Christian movement. They were complying with the authorities, and they were hiring people. Parents were hiring people to go and kidnap their children who had left and become Hare Krishnas. And then they would do CIA type of torture to them. They'd sit them down and they try to deprogram them. And it was a crazy phenomena. And then it became like such a thing where then these parties actually went after ISKCON or Prabhupada's movement, saying this isn't a bona fide religion, it's a cult, they're trying to do this. And actually what ended up happening, you could say, well, why is this happening? Why? Prabhupada calmly, and then eventually he said, go, defend in court. And what ended up happening is that court case was monumental because the United States government ended up finding that, no, this is a bona fide religion, and it completely stopped this public backlash that was happening, because when people, just like the Jews, Jesus was teaching a higher, finer thing than what they knew as the social norm or the religious norm, but they couldn't recognize that it was better. So what they do, they put him on a cross. They acted so maliciously towards him. And you say, why that? But look what happened next. He rises from the dead, and then a whole monumental religion starts because, of the miracle of, the truth that he was presenting. So similarly, it's not quite on the same level, but similarly, the Hare Krishnas can grow and grow and grow and grow because of these, tribulations that they had to go through. And similarly, all reverses that are happening, they're actually the Lord's mercy, and we can't see what kind of, because they define our character, they build our character, they help us grow. So we can't see it, but the Lord is ultimately giving His grace, and the devotee tolerates all reverses. Maharaj Parikshit actually observed this, and therefore he can understand that the bull was no other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, the devotee has no suffering at all, because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali. Although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities, the extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the codes of religion. Because Maharaj Parikshit was so impressed with the bull's reaction to the torture being imposed upon him that he said, you must be the personality of religion. No one else could take this situation so gracefully like you're taking. So let's do one more verse. Uttavadeva mayaya nunangatir agochara chetaso vachasaschapi bhutanamiti nishchayaha. Athava, alternatively, Deva, the Lord, Mayaya, energies, Nunam, very little, Gati, movement, Agochara, inconceivable, Chetasa, either by the mind, Vachasa, by words, Cha, or Api, also, Bhutanam, of all living beings, Iti, thus, Nishchaya, concluded. Thus it is concluded that the Lord's energies are inconceivable. No one can estimate them by mental speculation or by word jugglery. Purport. A question may be raised as to why a devotee should refrain from identifying an actor, although he knows definitely that the Lord is the ultimate doer of everything. Knowing the ultimate doer, one should not pose himself as ignorant of the actual performer. To answer this doubt, the reply is that the Lord is also not directly responsible, for everything is done by His deputed Maya Shakti, or material energy. The material energy is always provoking doubts about the supreme authority of the Lord. The personality, this is very true, the material energy is always provoking doubts about the supreme authority of the Lord. It acts in such a way. Why would this happen? Why would this happen? Is God real? Does He really care for me? Is there any love there? The personality of religion knew perfectly well that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. And still he was put into doubts by the deluding energy, and thus he refrained from mentioning the supreme cause. So now Yudhishthira is mentioning the supreme cause. This doubtfulness was due to the contamination of both Kali and the material energy. The whole atmosphere of the age of Kali is magnified by the diluting energy, and the proportion of measurement is inexplicable. I'm trying to understand that, what he means by that. What are you doing, Abhiram? So, one, inexplicable meaning is unable to be explained or accounted for. And the proportion of measurement is unable to be explained. So I guess he's saying that due to this diluting energy, we're not able to explain why everything is happening. And especially when we're so caught up in the thick of it, oh, now I lost this, or now this is happening, and now this injustice. It's hard to see you're not able to explain the Lord and see the Lord's hand in it. Why would he do this now? But in time always tells why that was valuable. And time always reveals, oh, if I didn't go through this, I wouldn't have been able to build to where I'm at now. But in the moment, it's very difficult to see the Lord's hand. So Maharaj Parakit was very pleased, and then he takes it to the next level. That you can't, it's inconceivable to understand how and why the Lord is acting and doing what he's doing. We don't know, is this a reaction, things I've done in the past? But we do know this, or the surrendered devotee knows this, everything is favorable. It's all God's grace. Everything is favorable. But how and why it's favorable, we'll never be able to know. We'll never be able to know until later. Time will reveal, wow, I see now. Just like all of the struggles, my whole life, much of my life, I felt like the Lord has been conspiring towards my, failure at so many attempts in my life. I was just meant to fail at almost, especially in my younger years, so many things. And all of my peers were able to achieve those things fairly easily. But me, I was not allowed. And I was like, that's why one of the reasons I stopped believing in God, actually. I stopped believing in God because, like everyone else gets to receive these enjoyments out of life, and I'm barred from them. I don't have the capacity to enjoy like this. But now, fast forward many years later, I'm so happy. I'm so happy he didn't give me those things, because they were so useless, and so what a waste of time and energy to be absorbed in these things. Like, for instance, I wanted to be very successful in playing video games, and I would, I don't know, you probably know the word.
I was just thinking about that when you said that you were so happy Krishna didn't fulfill certain things. I was thinking about that. Yeah.
So I used to play like PvP, it means player versus player, and it's very competitive in the video gamers. Even still sometimes on the Facebook, they'll catch me with like Super Smash Bros. Like these competitive Super Smash Bros. Players who are doing like the craziest moves, and it's like it's appreciable by me because it takes so much talent to do these things. But anyway, I wanted to be very skilled in these things. And I would build up, but ultimately I just couldn't compete with like the people who were fully absorbed and fully, successful in this. So, but I look back now, I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't become like a professional gamer or something like that, thank God even like I wanted to be very good at sports and things like that. But I look back now, thank God I'm not a professional athlete, like just totally absorbed in playing children's games, like, totally absorbed in being glorified, and what is my contribution to society is like, yeah, I can hit a ball, or I can like, throw a ball, or I can catch a ball, everything with balls. But like, why? Who cares? Like, what is the point? It's completely nonsense. It's completely useless, even for practical duties. If you fall, maybe, you could keep yourself healthy with some exercise. But even that, most of these athletes, they have, especially football, they have all kinds of degenerative diseases from concussions and things later on. So it's not even serving that purpose. You're walking with some limp for the rest of your life due to some sports injury. But anyway, yeah, there's so many things that, I wanted, and I wanted to be a baseball player when I was a kid. That's what I wanted. But thank God the Lord didn't fulfill that desire, because it was so silly. So silly, like, here I am and all my relatives are glorifying me for my ability to, like, handle some bat or a glove or some baseball. But on the scheme of, understanding reality, it's just a useless waste of time. But, at the time I was like, that's one of the reasons I started to lose faith in the Lord. The Lord never gives me what I want. He's never giving me all these things that I want. But now I'm seeing this further, in my life. I've wanted properties, I wanted women, I wanted money, I wanted this, that, and the other thing. And only when, did I receive these things when the Lord found it valuable, and I see the value. So anyway, very difficult, impossible, it's inconceivable. You're never going to understand why it's happening, but you always have to trust it's for the good. It's for the good. It's for the good. So this is a limb of surrender. So Bhagavatam is teaching us actually how to surrender unto the Lord and whatever is happening. So we'll end here. Continue on in your process. The Lord is going to throw so many inconceivable situations out there. But all through the thick and thin, have faith. It's going to work out. And guess what? It always does. And so, carry on. And I'm also trying to carry on. And, eventually the reversals, they, I think, go up again. Who knows? I might be on a long slope of reversal in my life. I don't know. But a long slope of success can also begin. Or it might be very choppy. High success and then big fall, very quickly. So anyhow, trust the Lord. He's doing everything perfectly. Very difficult to see in the moments. But by reading this Bhagavat philosophy, we can have that perspective. We can say, oh, wow, okay, I should be a little bit more introspective as to why things are happening and see the Lord's hand in everything. And that's what the devotee does. And we shouldn't blame others, even if some ignorant cause, like a child screaming at 1 a.m, and we say, Aviram, shut up, what are you doing? We both were like yelling at the baby. And that's like, what are you doing? Like, stop.
I'm so tired of it.
Yeah, but actually, this is, for whatever reason, this is the Lord's alarm for us, become aware of something. Actually, it was interesting when that happened. I realized I didn't do one of my, I've been neglecting my reading sadhana the past few days. And so he was like the alarm clock. We're like, you're not done with the day yet. Finish what you're supposed to do. And so I did. And then I went to bed, and then oh my God, I'm very tired today. But anyhow, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Yeah. It's fun.
So all right, everyone have a good day.